The Science of Self-Realization by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Chapter 7 is called Returning to the Eternal Religion. We've already done a program about part of this. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 1, Verse 8. Tasmat praivasav eha papa nishkrtau yatatamrtyor avepadya tatmana doshasya darshtava guru lagavam yata veshak chekitseta rujam nidanavit. Let us remember that we are totally culpable. And whether something's good or bad, righteous or evil, negative or positive, there is going to be results for it. When we consult who is going to bring from a light, rather than from a darkness, we are going to come across prescriptions, and these prescriptions may come easy or difficult depending on the conditions that they're addressing. For some people, all they need to do is change a creed and they're good to go. Other people have sensibilities and stuff that they need to work on, and maybe that's why they were stuck in the wrong creed to begin with, because that creed kind of makes them feel like there's an excuse. But no one's going to do it for you. Bhagavad Gita 2:20, Najayate Mreyate Nitya Sasvato Yam Purano Nahanyate Hanyamane Sarire. Birthless, deathless, eternal, and everlasting. That which transcends isn't lost, being dissolved like the body does. It's not killed or destroyed, regardless of how destroyed the body is. Because people are like, well, there's a bone that doesn't... It's like, no, that's not really what it's saying. It's not saying... Like, for example, there's a saying attributed to Prophet Muhammad about, the being resurrected from even a bone. So people believe that there's a bone that doesn't get mashed up, right? But actually, the same God that can construct you from anything left behind is one that can, even if the bones are decayed, reconstruct you. So it's not saying that there's an indestructible bone. It doesn't say those words, right? So we need to be careful about some conclusions. Are they really supported? Are they generally supported? Or, Janma mrityu jara vyade dukkha doshanu darsanam. People have problems with birth, with death, with aging, with sickness. They just have this discontent about all that sort of stuff. But the satisfaction comes in the witnessing. Bhagavad Gita 4:9, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yuvete tattvata tyaktva deham punar janma naete mamete sarjuna. Every moment we're relatively giving up the body, but how many do it willingly, right? So if you understand the appearance of the sent one and their disappearance beyond the mundane aspect of it, the truth of it, then you understand that this is going to go on for your body too. You know, just like that thing in the Bible about the miracles, well, or is it the Gospel of Thomas or something? It's, you know, some of the Gospels mentioned that the believers will be able to work the same sort of miracles that Jesus worked. They have given everything to Krishna, and that is never a mistake, is the next section. And it's important to not have prejudice towards people, not to have a negative outlook, because you never know who is going to be affected by what you're doing. And the attitude in which you go about and spread the message, that will have an effect too. And there may be circumstances for this. So we judge other people for what they are seeming to do. You know, who knows the situation? But you shouldn't be one of the ones who frown and turn away. Now, I'm referring to a verse that it is narrated that this was correcting somebody who was with Muhammad. But it's usually more people are interpreting it the other way. But either way, it was not a behavior. It wasn't that something wrong was said or something. It's that, you know, the focus, the idea was that why don't you focus on the person who can have more effect? But the person who was listening, you never know that somebody who's right there that was listening was what it was all for. Mamupetya punarjanma duhkalayam asasvatam napnuvante mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gatah. If you understand that the world is full of suffering, and that it's a place of difficulty, but it's temporary, then you become of those who are of the great mind. Bhagavad Gita 8:15. Bhagavad Gita 3:37. Kama esha krodha esha rajoguna samudbhava mahasanu mahapapma vidyanam meha vairinam. And as far as our mere desires are concerned, you know, who in particular we would like to judge and all that, this sort of stuff is connected to the devouring principle of the world. But there is a greater thing to turn to through these things. Bhagavad Gita 7.19. Bahunam janmanam mante jannanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamite samahatma sudurlabha. After many cycles of life, one who's really established their wisdom is surrendered to the cause of causes. But to truly do that is rare. Or at least when there is the revival under the sent ones, that it's rare, and that's why the messages being sent again are in a different form, right? Bhagavad Gita 10.9, mat chitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam kathayantas chamam nityam tushyante charamante cha. And so, you should engage yourself mentally, emotionally, sensually, in your enlightenment, in your purification, being the sort that people of all sorts would consider dear. And of course, being the sort that is dear to divinity. And avoiding such discrimination. Bhagavad Gita 9.30, apechet suduracharo bhajate mam ananya bhak sadureva samantavya samyag vyavaseto hesah. Devotees may commit of the most horrible things, but if they haven't given up their station, then they're still, overall saintly. Of course, that doesn't mean they shouldn't face consequences for violating the rights of others, but their overall position, don't detract from it too much. But people, and don't worry about judging people in their jailhouse repentance. But you certainly can't release people to the general public, right? Now that they've converted in prison, whether that's true or not, it's usually not a conversion. Usually it's what you call a reversion, but you know what I mean. Well, at least they've reverted to the, what they fought that ended up putting them in their position, right? An awareness of what is best and most beautiful. And in May of 1974, Prabhupada met somebody, and that was Desmond James Bernard O'Grady, who was very famous as an Irish poet. We need to go ahead with our spiritual work, regardless of what the people are assuming about us. And because the system isn't totally for us, we maybe get tired of the system. But how are we supposed to change the system if we don't popularize the ideas that are going to cause the improvements, right? Mam chayo vyabicharana bhakte yogena sevate sagunan samatityaetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. And when you're spiritually active and you're not diluting that with anything else, you're beyond whatever mode you were in. And you are upon an absolute platform. As my channel logo indicates, undefiled knowledge, yadnamad, and absolute righteousness. They're states. Bhagavad Gita 18.54, Brahma Bhuta prasannatma na sochate na kanchate samma sarvashu bhutashu mad bhaktim labhate param. When you settle yourself in a transcendental way, you realize the absolute. And that is a joy beyond limitation, beyond craving. He finds the devotional service. Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo vette tattvata tyaktva deham punar janmana ite mamette sarjuna. So if you know about the transcendence of the appearance and the leaving of the body and the activities between, and you understand that beyond the mundane platform, then you never have to attain a physical body again. And you go on to the truly eternal. The Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1:12. Sarvopadevinir muktam tat paratvena nirmalam harshikana harshikasa savanam bhaktir uchyate. When you have carried out the purification of your senses, then the controller of the senses is who you're manifesting as a non-duality, in duality, of course, and that's absolute, isn't it? And let us understand that regardless of the national, the ethnic, and other ways, titles, our particular differences in form, this is not us. And let's not fight about these things. Bhagavad Gita 2.7, Karpanyado shopahatas svabhava perchame tavam dharma sambuddha chatah yach shreyah syanischitam bruhe tanme sishtyas teham sadimam savam prapannam. People don't always know what their real duty is, so they ask what is best. They need instructed, and they need to learn from somebody who knows better, right? They need to become a disciple. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.1.1, Janmadayasya yato nvayan itaratas charthashav abhijnah svarat. And ultimate divinity knows it knows that which other things are not comprehending. Tad vijnanartham sa gurum avabhegachat. And an authentic individual who will bring from darkness to light is who we should approach for our answers. And as previously shown, such an individual will point us to the revelation and the inspiration that explains those things. People ask about your particular cultural things, right? As I said, the labels. There's also the, but why should we learn about these things? What is the good in doing it other than filling our time or something that somebody decides is good for our conversation? Sure. I will consider recommendations of content to do. I will consider books to look at. Largely what I'm going to talk about is the books that I have. So if I have to buy something, that's a decision in itself. But, there needs to be a spiritual consciousness behind it, why we're doing it. Srotriyam Brahmanishtam. Hearing it from a bona fide source. Samsara davanalidaloka tranaya karunya ganatvam praptasya kalyana gunarnavasya vande guru Sri Charannaravindam. People have to choose to save themselves. But a true spiritual master is someone who will put out that opportunity. They will be a vehicle of such mercy from divinity. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.22. Edam he pumsas tapasah srutasya va sevistasya suktasya cha buddhe datayo avichyuto rthah kavibir nirupeto yarutamasloka gunanduvarnanam. Of every type, there are chiefs in society. And they may be experts in their field. But our ultimate occupation is in expressing our relationship to divinity. So by this we describe the glories. And some of us are going to be better at it than others. Some of us are going to know the dangers of one sort or another, the risks of one sort or another. And it doesn't mean that spirituality has to be some safe thing, right? It's not about mere safety. It's about what operation is the best. It's about not putting ourselves to needless temptation Sure, some is going to come about, but is our mission in this area or not? Because people are going to say, oh, I shouldn't go out because I'm going to be tempted. It's not like that either, right? But you shouldn't go to the bar, or you shouldn't go to the alley where the prostitutes hang out, or however that goes down nowadays, or that section of, it can't all be on Craigslist, but that's what you hear on the news. Or I don't watch much news, so that's